Morning, everybody. It's your boy D Mac. Let's talk. So I get comments sometimes, and people say, D Mac, I thought this is a sports show, but you talk about things that aren't sports related. Well, this is a sports and information show. And what I'm about to talk about today, I consider a sport because these young black men are out here killing each other like it's a sport and they think it's a game. So that falls in the line of sports, and that's what I'm gonna talk about this morning. You saw the title; it says Yahweh said it, and I'm talking about Baby Capone and his friend and the Nipsey Hussle situation. And I'm going to do it from a point of view that is going to give some clarity to why these young children are going through what they're going through and why they're doing this. And I hope I give it some do it some justice. Um, I'll start by saying that Baby Capone, if any of y'all saw the video, is a very graphic video of a young man losing his life. They were sitting there on live, and his friend was talking about, man, you sitting there, you don't have your weapon on you. What you gonna do? And not even 5 seconds later, the young man was shot to death on live. He was shot over 16 times on live. And when I saw it, one thing in that video triggered me because I am a combat veteran. The look that was in his eyes when he was trying to mouth the word Hawthorne, it it took me back to the war and the look that was in people's eyes when they realized that they were going to lose their life. So I looked at it from a different perspective than a lot of other people. You had some people on one side saying, this is horrible. This is, this child is dying out here like this. You had some people who was applauding and clapping for this situation because they said, well, this young man went out there and he disrespected the mural of Nipsey Hussle and he's this and all of those labels they like to use, Crips and Bloods and gang stuff. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, man, no insult is worth a life, man. There's no insult that somebody could say to me or about anybody that I know that would cause me to take their life. Yeah, we might get in a altercation, but nowhere in my mind is it saying take this man's life, take him away from his family. And so where did this spirit come from? Why are these children acting like this and so intent on killing each other just for the smallest thing? Well, I'm a spiritual dude, and I study my word and I study to show myself approved. And one thing that I keep seeing in all of this violence that's going on is the fact that God spoke this. Yahweh said it. He said these were things were going to happen. And he said, whenever you go into these things, know that it's because of your rebellion. It's not that I'm a unjust God. It's that you're a wayward people. And so people used to ask me all the time, this one particular question used to get me. They'd be like, well, if God is such a good God, why does he allow children to get molested? Why does he allow children to get murdered? Why would he allow an innocent child to go through that? And I used to get mad, not at that person so much. I thought I was getting mad at the person, but actually I was mad at myself because I didn't really have a sufficient answer for people when they asked me that question. And so I began to search because I needed an answer for that question. And God brought me across Romans, He brought me across Romans chapter 1, verses 20 through 25. And that's something that I hold on to whenever I see the craziness that's taking place in this world. And Romans says, I'm just going to paraphrase. It says, because when you knew God, you glorified him not as God, and you were evil in your own imagination. You used your own worldly wisdom over the wisdom that I gave you. So because you did that, you became evil in your own heart. And because you did that, Yahweh gave them over to the desires of their heart. Now, what is the desires of the carnal heart? To fulfill the flesh. And so, in fulfilling the flesh, they had to deal with every consequence that came with the fleshly desires. And that's not just sex when we say fleshly desires. That can be gluttony, eating too much. That can be a whole lot of things. Whatever you put your time and your energy into, that is your desire. And so God gave him over to those things. And when God gave them over to those things, they began to reap the consequences of what they were indulging in. And God didn't stop it. Why? Because God's word never returns to him void. It goes out and it does what it sets out to do, and then it comes back. So when God speaks something, you're not going to change it. No matter how you feel about it, no matter how everybody feels about it, it's going to accomplish what it's set out to do. And so, with this in mind, when I see these baby Capones getting murdered, and when I see all of these different murders, even the George Floyd murder, I think Yahweh said it. And so it must take place regardless of how we feel about it. And it's going to be a lot more and a lot worse. So I suggest people get some understanding of this concept, because you're going to lose your mind if you don't understand what's going on. Yahweh said it. So why would Yahweh do that? Why would he do that? I just told you. Because you make the choices that you make. There are people tied to you in the spirit, and there are people tied to you physically. So your actions sets off a ripple effect, and it affects a lot of people, good or bad. So if you're doing the right thing, it's going to affect a lot of people in a good way. If you're doing the wrong thing, it's going to affect a lot of people in a bad way. That's just how that spiritual connection is. And so whenever you understand that spiritual connection, you understand that you have a responsibility and a role to play in how things turn out. And so God he told us from the beginning, he said, choose ye this day, choose life or death. I would that you choose life, but a lot of us out here are choosing death, and the consequences that come with death. You understand? That's why you have so many children out here murdering each other in cold blood in the streets, and then laughing about it and going on to pick at each other about the death. Because Yahweh said it. He said in these last days we would have perilous times. And he said that people would be evil exceedingly. And what we're seeing is that evil exceedingly that he spoke about. This is prophecy. These are things that's going to happen, whether you believe in the Bible or not. I don't care what what you believe or what you don't believe. But this is what I'm seeing. The correlation fits. The actions fit with the word that was spoken and brought forth. It lines up. And so I'm going to go with that. So now I'm going to give you a few examples of God's word going forth and not caring about how the people feel. The first great example is the flood. All of those people. Now, there's warning before destruction. So God gave the warning through Noah. What the people do, they laughed at him. And so that man went on and did what he had to do so that his family would be safe. And he followed the instructions that Yahweh gave him, and his family was saved, but everybody else had to perish. Now, I've told people this before. Just imagine sitting in there having to listen to all of your friends, all of your acquaintances, all of the people that you made friends with, all the people you've done business with, their children, their wives, outside screaming and crying and pleading to get in because they're drowning. And you have to sit there and listen to them. All the way up to the point to the last person drowned. You have to sit there and listen to these people beg and plead for you to let them in, but you can't. That requires you to go outside of your feelings. That requires you to operate on a level of spiritual mindedness that supersede your emotions. You understand? That's what Noah had to do. He had to supersede, he had to um, work and operate in a spiritual understanding that superseded his emotions, because if not, he would have been tempted to open that door. And what would have happened then? So that's one example of God not caring about your feelings when his word comes forth. So that's what we got to understand. Now, we're going to look at, there was a city called Ai. King Saul, he was the first king over the people of Israel. And Yahweh told him to go into Ai, and he said, kill everything. Man, woman, child, dog, insect, anything alive in Ai, kill it. They went in and they didn't do what God said. And because of that, there was a great loss in Israel. You understand? Because they didn't do what God told them. They were in their feelings. They felt that this was better, or King Saul himself felt that this is what should be done. But it ain't about your feelings. It's never been about your feelings with Yahweh, ever. That's why it says that, he doesn't judge. He doesn't judge your outside, your physical. He judges the heart. So, with that being said, we're going to look at something else. Slavery. People say slavery is so cruel. Slavery is one of the worst things ever. Well, there was slavery back in the biblical days. There were many times when Israel found themselves as being slaves, and there were people who from Israel who also had slaves. It was a commonplace thing to have slaves. It just wasn't the abuse that the United States did with slavery. So God knew that, but he said, because you are a rebellious people, this is what's going to happen to you, and it's going to last for over 400 years. And that's what took place. Regardless of how we feel, we have all of these things commemorating certain things, and we feel a certain way, and we use these atrocities that happen to motivate us, to push us for better. But God spoke it, though, into existence. No matter how you feel about it, no matter how wrong it is, the righteous indignation that we carry for the black plight, God spoke it. And there's nothing that can be done about it until the time is up that he spoke it to be. So we have these different examples of why the things are going on today that's going on. All of these children out here in these streets that's murdering each other, all of these rappers that's pushing that, all of this was spoken. All of this is going to take place regardless of how many times you pray, regardless of how many times you cry out, regardless of how many forums you have to talk to gangs, no matter how many programs you implement to try and get these kids into a better life, which we're going to do anyway, just because any life saved is a life saved, because those children have a choice, but a lot of them just don't know that they have a choice. Choose ye this day, life or death. They have a choice. And we have to get that message to them so that they can make a good choice. That's where we're messing up. We're not giving these children the choice. We're not showing them that they have a choice, because the environment that they're coming up in says that you only have one choice, and that's to do what we do in the hood to survive. But that's not the truth. So we need to present this to these children just like God presented it to us. Choose ye this day, life or death, because sometimes a spiritual death can bring about a physical death. Think about it. If you're living a certain lifestyle and you are not caring about what's going on, you're not caring about um, death, you're not caring about hurting other people or anything like that, because everything is about you, that could ultimately lead to your physical demise. And it has on so many occasions. So many of these people, in case in point, Baby Capone, he lost his life because he thought that it was going to give him some power or some respect to disrespect dead people and to go around and shoot at people and live that gang lifestyle. So if you live by the gun, you're definitely going to die by the gun, because the word was spoken. And regardless of how any of you feel, all of these deaths are going to happen, and a lot more are going to happen. They have to, because in order for the movement to continue to progress, a certain people are going to have to leave this place, because they're nothing but a cancer and a hindrance to what's trying to be accomplished. And God has that understanding. He's given me that understanding that a lot of these people are going to have to die. At some point, he may ask for my life for the cause. And I'll say that I will gladly give my life for the cause, but I won't give it for ignorance. That's one thing that I won't do. And if it, I'm not going to put myself in these situations to be taken out of here like that. So when you understand that these guys are going to die, and when I say these guys, I'm not just talking about rappers and gang members. A lot of negative people are going to have to die. A lot of ignorance is going to have to die. That's all a part of prophecy. That's all a part of the growth, and that's all a part of the change that is taking place in this world. Sad to say, it's a hard pill to swallow, but yet and still we have to swallow it. So these gang deaths and all of this violence, it's not going anywhere, y'all. It's not. Violence, murder has been here from almost from day one. So to think that we can, our behavior and our actions is going to make violence go away, when Yahweh said it's just going to get worse until the second coming of his son Yeshua. So it's kind of hard, because I don't want to tell people that you're praying in vain, because you're not, because our prayers do work and it does help some situations, and it gets Yahweh's attention, and that's where our grace and our mercy comes in. But at the same time, Yahweh spoke perilous times into the atmosphere, and it's going to take place no matter how much we pray. So I never, me personally, this is me personally, I don't pray for peace, because I know peace is only a individual thing now. As a collective, as a whole in this world, you have far too much evil, far too many people who gave themselves over to the desires of their heart. And the product of that is going to be murder, it's going to be sexual assault, it's going to be sexual perversion, it's going to be all of these negative things, fighting each other, hating each other, talking about each other behind each other's back. All of those things were listed in Romans 1:20 through 20, actually 20 through 28 or so. He listed all of the things that people were going to be doing whenever they're given over to the desires of their flesh. So I would suggest that you go over and read that, and it'll give you an understanding of why people are dying at such a high rate and why people are so ignorant nowadays. Everything that's going on, Yahweh said it. He said it. It's coming to pass, and nothing we can say or do is going to stop it. The only thing we can do is stay prayed up and live a life that is going to keep us protected in this treacherous world that we live in. And I look at it like the times of what was his name? Lot during Sodom and Gomorrah. This is a man who was trying to live upright, trying to do the right thing, living in a place that was just full of everything, all of the sexual debauchery, all of the murder, all of the things that I just listed, and all of the things that we are indulging in today. That's what was going on in Sodom and Gomorrah. And it was destroyed. But Lot was spared because of the life that he lived, man. And so I'm trying to be a lot. Am I that yet? Nah, but I'm trying to get there. I'm striving for that because I see the end results of indulging in the desires of your flesh. So as long as you are out here and you in this world and you're participating in the things of the world, then you're going to get worldly consequences. So children going to die. Yep. And it ain't going to move God one bit because he's the keeper of the soul. Soul comes back to him. This little fleshly vessel that we walking around in is just like a burlap sack that you hold something in. It's just holding something. It's holding that spirit. It's holding that soul. So I'm gonna tell you like this, man. Yeah, we gonna work with the youth and we gonna try to get these kids to stop killing each other like this, but it's gonna happen some other way because it was said. God, Yahweh said it, and it shall come to pass. So having this understanding now and looking at the video of Baby Capone and thinking about how Nipsey Hussle died out in the streets, all of those things had to happen. It's all a part of a ripple effect. Just like I said before, there's that ripple effect. What someone does affects a whole lot of other people that they don't even know is connected to them. Yeah. And so now you have this ripple effect in our generation and in our time. And that ripple effect came through our music, it came through our media, and it came through every device of influence in our lives to control us and to have us to go a certain way. And so the thing for us as children of the Most High is to break away from these devices and these things in our lives. And I never realized how programmed I was until I tried to break away from the program, until I stopped drinking, till I stopped watching all the shows, different shows on TV, till I stopped ingesting all of this stuff into my spirit that was hampering me spiritually. And then the things that I was doing to myself physically that was hindering me in the physical aspect. There's so much that we can do to help ourselves out, but we oftentimes will go out here and abuse ourselves, abuse our bodies, abuse other people, and then don't understand why we end up in the position that we're in. It's called karma. Yeah, some people call it karma. So, hey, my feelings ain't in this. Whenever these people die and stuff like that, like I said, it triggered me because I've seen that look of realizing that you're gonna die. I've seen that too many times. And so it just gave me a flashback, but it ain't hurting my feelings. I'm not gonna be sad about it because, it gotta take place, and no disrespect to anybody who's lost their lives. Let me say that. because it's a hard thing to have someone that you love and someone that you respect and look up to have their life taken what we feel is prematurely. God's timing, but we would say it's prematurely because they lose their life at a young age. But it's supposed to happen. I don't feel no two ways about it. You know, if I've lost so many people, even before war, I lost so many people to the point to where now that I have this understanding and now that God gave me the answer to that question, so when people come up and ask me, well, if God is such a just God, why did these things happen? I have so much peace about what's taking place. I lost somebody last year. This guy, he was not only was he my brother in Christ, he was my niece's husband, so that made him my nephew. He was also my music producer, one of the greatest producers of all time. Shout out Simeon. And he was my friend. And I lost him to the violence of the streets. And when I was sitting there and I was going through trying to figure out why this took place, God gave me Romans 1:20 through 25. And that gave me peace in my heart because um, it just made me understand that the times that we're living in, regardless of how I feel, regardless of how anybody else felt, God said it's time for me to bring you home. And that's what took place. So I have a peace about me with this. I hope this video gives you peace about the violence that we are faced with today. We're still going to pray against the violence because prayers do help. Prayers work. So we're going to continue to pray, but make sure you make your prayer specific because that general blanket prayer of God, just give us peace in the world or peace in the United States. No, that's going against the word that he spoke. That's going against his prophecy. So we have to be careful and mindful of the things that we're praying because sometimes we can be praying in vain because Yahweh said it. And his word is not going to return to him void until it goes out and accomplish what it was set out to do. I have peace in my heart about what's going on. You should too. This is your boy D Mac. Sticks and stones can break your bones, but the word can always heal you. I'm out.